All right, everybody, welcome to the latest edition of the G Vegas Gridiron Fantasy Football Podcast. We are super excited to be here today. We've got a wonderful guest, someone that's become a great friend, and more importantly, someone that I have a lot of respect for, and Sean Ghazanfari, otherwise known as Iceman, a diehard Presbyterian, and we love him anyway. Sean, welcome to the show.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the kind words. They mean a lot. Thank you, sir.
Sean, I
I
think
have
yeah,
no
go ahead,
kind
Chris.
words. I have no kind words after our matchup, so I'm glad James was
That's
able to do that intro.
that's understandable.
So, Sean, speaking of that, I think Chris gave us the perfect segue into this interview. Season, I think it's probably fair to say it hasn't gone the way that you hoped or expected, coming off of a pretty strong draft, I'd say. How does it feel to have gotten a win against Chris this past week?
Well, as you said, things didn't go as planned. I really thought this year was going to be a little different than last year. Last year was just the draft, the 16-team league. Just didn't make the adjustments, and things did not go well. Somehow still managed a 7-7 finish. So this year, going into the year, I had high hopes that were all crushed rather abruptly with Malik Neighbors going down, and then, of course, Najee going down. Not that Najee's, cream of the crop, but it was disappointing. Should have started 1-0, but we know how that went. Should be 4-3, but we know how that went. So here I am. I'm sitting here, coming off of, again, it was a close matchup. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. Caleb Williams did not show up, but we all have players that don't do what they're supposed to do on any given week. So I was just lucky to come out of there with a win. Tough week for all of us this week with bye weeks, so I think it's going to be a little more difficult this week. I'm anticipating some rough waters for this weekend, but we'll see what happens any given Sunday. So who knows?
Sean, what are your expectations as far as the season goes? Where do you see this team ending up?
Well, I mean, you're asking me now. If you'd asked me a few weeks ago, I probably would have had a different answer. I'm still looking to somehow find a way to get into the playoffs, and I think there are a lot of teams that are sort of have the same record. I think that's a little misleading because some of the teams are better than some of the other teams. I have been actively entertaining offers for trades, trying to trade for some depth, whether it means moving a guy like McBride or moving whoever. I've had some messages come my way, but just haven't been able to pull the trigger. Even old Corbin, has been somewhat reasonable, which was a pleasant surprise. Of course, when you text Corbin, 30 seconds later he calls you on the phone at the most inopportune time, but I do pick up when I can, and it's always quite a pleasant conversation I have with Corbin. So to answer your question, I don't know. It really, like I said, I thought I was moving in the right direction there, and then that happened, and I'm trying to make the waiver moves, trying to make trades, trying to contend, but I clearly don't see myself as obviously a threat to the top two or three teams. But there's quite a few teams that have similar records, and according to the sleeper, I don't consider myself to be, it says it has me at 10th or 11th. I don't know, but my team, I have some questions. Let's put it that way. It's a week by week thing. I'm trying to win each week and go from there. Last year, 7-7 didn't get me into the playoffs. So this year might be different. This might be a different year. It's been a weird year, I think. Just looking at some teams and their records are deceiving because I think they're better than the record.
Yeah. No, I mean, you said it best. I've always been joking on DJ, but there's a lot of teams that have worse records than I feel like they should, and there's a lot of teams that have better records than they should. But everyone's pretty close. I mean, unfortunately, Corbin's 6-1, and so is Ricky. But everyone else is like really right in the 3-4, 4-3 range. I think we could see an exciting finish. So this year specifically, I feel like there's more talk about not wanting to be in the toilet bowl. Like, usually it's like, hey, it's there. I don't think I'll be in it. I think the punishment's pretty, pretty, pretty grueling this year. Do you have any worry of the punishment, or do you think you'll be all right, and really can just look forward to winning?
Well, I wouldn't say that I'm worried about it, in that it gives me difficult. I'm not able to sleep, or I'm not able to go about my daily routine in life. I don't foresee myself finishing last. I don't think I'll be having to, you know, endure that type of. It's such an outlandish, like it's just so out of the. Just it's crazy to even think about what that will do to a person's digestive system and everything else, their cholesterol and everything. It's just a wild punishment. Um, that I think it's funny, but I wouldn't want to be the guy that is on the receiving end of that, because realistically it could kill you. But no, I don't. I'm gonna find a way for that not to happen, just like I did last year. So I don't know how that's gonna, but I think I still think that there's a couple of teams that are. I do think there's a good chance that I might see myself in the toilet bowl if I don't make the moves that I need to make, but I'm going to do everything I can to keep from having to. I think once you get down to those weeks where it actually hits you that you're in the toilet bowl, then you could start to worry. But for now, we're
Yeah,
so early in the season, and so much can happen. And so many teams are lumped in the same category or same records,
Hmm.
that it's still a long way from thinking about that awful day
yeah,
for some of
Well,
them.
and to your point, Iceman, I mean, the fourth ranked team in our league and the 11th ranked team in our league, which is actually you and Dolphin Death, y'all are separated by one game. I mean, that is insane that it's that close in the middle. Like what we see right now, and we're at the halfway point now, which is hard to believe. But what we see now, with it being so close, I mean, things change quickly, and we've seen that. Billy Buck was once like a unanimous top team in this league. Well, he's now sitting at 2-5.
yeah,
Noel was someone we looked at as being a top team in this league. He's sitting at 2-5. Whereas on draft night, and I'll never forget. And Iceman, I know you weren't able to be there. We hated missing you, but on draft night, Corbin and Ricky were the two teams everybody was making fun of and mocking. And here they are, number 1 and 2 at 6-1 apiece. It is, I mean, it's fantastic, but things change so quickly in this league. To your point, it's so early on. And I will say that
hmm
as someone who was close to having panic attacks in the middle of the workday as I was 0-2, 0-3, 0-4. It just, the pressure kept mounting.
yeah.
And I'm glad to have gotten a few wins since then. Iceman, one of the moves that I feel like one of the positions that interests me most on your team, you talking about making some moves. At the QB position, you've got Caleb Williams and Kyler Murray. How do you feel about those two in your QB room?
Well, going into the season, I felt a whole lot better with what I thought Kyler Murray was going to be able to do with that team. But again, some things happen. James Conner goes down, and the guy Kyler Murray, I think his height is, what's he, 4 foot, whatever he is giving him some problems. I think Caleb Williams has an upside. I think he's got all the receivers he needs. At this point, he's my guy. I'd like Kyler Murray to come back and do what Kyler Murray can do. So because I can't use those quarterbacks all season, both quarterbacks all season long. So I'd like to be able to move one, but it's hard to move quarterbacks.
Yeah,
Not everybody, unless a guy's needs a quarterback and offers a Debo Samuel, and then all of a sudden it happens. But
right.
but I'll tell you, I really felt good about Kyler Murray this year. I felt like he was going to have a good season with Marvin Harrison Jr. there and McBride. I don't. It just didn't happen, and not that it still can't, but he was got the toe issue. They got a bye week this week, uh, but I still like Caleb Williams. I still think he has some potential to fill the position for me, but we'll see. I mean, he's going to be my guy this week because I've got no one else, But it's weird because I don't normally. I wouldn't want to go into the season with two. I thought Kyler was going to be my starting quarterback, and I just plug Caleb in for the bye week. But here we are, and I got this guy that paints his nails every kind of color. He's a little funny, if you know what I mean. but he's got an upside, so we're gonna roll with him. That's what I got to do. So
No, that's great. I mean, you have Ted McMillan who's come out as a superstar, and then I mean, unfortunately, my Commanders have had their own injury trouble, but Zach Ertz seems to be solid. Like I said, I mean, you have some solid pieces, and it is such a weird league. When you're hitting people on bye weeks or even just the down weeks, I feel like anything's possible. Anything's
well,
possible
it's
here.
it's it's very hard to trade too. It just is because I fielded different offers, I've sent different offers, and people are very tentative. Obviously, everybody wants to get the better end of the deal. Then you get guys sending you deals that they're being advised by fantasy pros and
I got one of those.
they're trying to convince you that fantasy pros is looking out for you and has your best interest in mind, and then you got Corbin. So it's all over the place. But I do like the characters in this league. I do like Libby and I have had many conversations regarding trade going back and forth. It's hard to trade. You see a lot of smaller trades. I mean, I thought again. I think you and I sent a text to each other, James. I thought that trade was a big trade for Girth, or as I like to call
Yeah.
him, Girth. I think it just work. It's going to work out. I like Derrick Henry. I like what he can do, and of course, Devontae's not going to do that every week, but it definitely hurt Wes, and we can talk about that later. But it was one of the bigger trades. I mean, most of the time it's you're seeing defensive players, or every now and then like the quarterback gets traded to a guy who needs a quarterback, but not a whole lot of big trades. And I want to make big trades because I want to get depth, and that's guys like Tet, guys like McMillan are the pieces that I'm trying to market to get that. So you just can't make up, and everybody has injuries. I'm not making excuses, but you just can't replace a Malik Neighbors. He was the one guy that I said if he's there, I'm taking him. Like last year, I had to have Amon. This year it was Malik Neighbors. I didn't think he was going to be there for me when I drafted, and there he was, and I felt like I had to take him. I take Chase
Totally.
Brown on the swing, and then Burrow goes down, and he showed signs of life. I was happy with his performance, Chase Brown, this past week, but of course they only gave him the ball 10 times. But fantasy football is crazy. I've been doing this stuff. Probably, I mean, I don't want to date myself here, but I kid you not, I was in fantasy baseball before the internet when they had the Philadelphia Daily News. You had to wait for the paper that came out that had the late scores from the 10 o'clock games. I kid you not, everything was kept on paper. All the stats were kept on
Yeah.
paper, and it was wild to where it was then and where it is now. And then when you get into 16 teams, that's just I had no clue what I was getting into last year. It is a competitive league. It's wild. It's just crazy.
That's
Sean, let me ask you based on that last statement there. I'm so curious. So you came in last year. The only person that I think you knew at the time, you knew Chuck. Obviously, y'all have been friends since you were kids. I think you and
mhm.
I had met one time. I remember we went to lunch and you came over to the house to look at some soccer jerseys. I
Yep.
don't know that you had met anyone else. What is your first impression been of the league? Now that we're here a year later, what do you think about it?
Well, I like the guys in the league. I really do. I really wanted to come this year. I did make the effort to try to work it out with the flight and getting to the beach house and all that. I actually even went through this. I got scammed in this one travel agency that I got tickets from, and I called the guy back, and we were like shouting at each other, and he gave me my money back.
Gosh.
But I agreed to a flight with certain times. He's like, no, we negotiate the times, and the times were completely different. So
Oh,
and to Brad's he was trying to make it work for me. He was gonna whatever arrangements needed to happen. Unfortunately, little Ricky ran into some trouble there, and that would have I don't know what would have happened. I'm sure somebody still would have come to pick me up, but I hope to get back there next year. But I do remember, yeah, I do remember going, and you have quite a collection of jerseys there. And I still have the Tottenham jersey that I purchased for you. I would have worn it tonight, but I had to wear this one right here. The
That's
G
right.
Bag. It's very comfortable, by the way. I mean, that's one of the few things Chuck did right. Is he was involved in picking out this shirt. But no, it was such a good time that I had when I went. the first year that I was in the league. And honestly, again, I was so hyped up and so excited to meet everyone and for all the competitions before the draft that sort of almost took precedence in my preparation for the draft. And you saw how that went when I decided to not draft a running back. Not a good strategy that anybody should ever decide to use. But no, it's I don't have beef with anybody at all in the league. I get along with everybody, and I like I said, it's even the fact that you guys have a podcast to me is wild. Everything is it's been a good time. I wish I had the like when I was like probably at your age or your Chris's age, like I was so much like more on fire for this stuff, and I still like it. I still enjoy it, but as you get older, life it just gets more complicated, and it's harder to put in the energy that you used to put in. But this league has 100 different chat rooms, which is wild. And again, you get guys like Corbin. You try to explain him to. Yeah, I love the guy. You try to explain him to other people, and it's just because I've been in many different leagues, but none quite like this. Not with 16 teams, 16 different personalities. So it's been a fun time. It's been a good ride, and I look forward to seeing how it all plays out down the stretch because I think it's gonna be a pretty crazy last few weeks of the season.
Now, do you even get along with Libby, given your political leanings?
Yeah, yeah, I think he's a closet Republican. I think he just likes to, like he likes to play the devil's advocate, likes to argue a little bit. He and I never discuss politics. We only talk, but I told him before he's my favorite liberal. And I do think his team is trending up a little bit, and I think this is going to be he's got a good matchup this week. I think this might be the Dems haven't been winning much, so they take their W's when they can get them. So he might get one. We'll have to see how things play out for him. But I do like him a lot. I talk to him more than any other team member of this league when it comes to trading.
You gotta be careful of his black magic. I'm sure you've heard the stories. Um, but I will say
Yeah.
he is very reasonable, and
Yeah.
if you're not Corbin, it's usually not too bad.
And
Yeah, believe it or not, like Corbin and I got into some serious negotiations, and I think had some of his players not had injuries, we would have gotten something done there. But I just I can't sit around and wait for players.
yeah.
It's crazy to me that he has the depth that he has once everyone gets healthy.
Well, and I think that's a good segue. We're talking about Corbin. Let's take a look at some of the results from last week, because I think there was a lot of really big games. And Chris, I'll throw it over to you first. What was a matchup that really stood out to you?
Yeah, in the previous week podcast, we were talking about Bull City Vots versus Team Billy Buck, and they were at the time the number one, number two offense. Still are up there, but we're expecting kind of pretty high scores, and neither team really, really like nailed it out of the park. 145 for Jose versus the 167 for Brad. Again, kind of middle of the pack game, so it didn't stand out in a good way. It's kind of shocking to see that result, but again, it goes back to your point, Sean. You never know what's going to happen. Some guys light it up, and some guys, take some rest weeks. So I guess that's one that stood out in the bad way.
Sean, what about you? Any games that stood out to you from last week?
Well, I really, it's hard for me to say this, but I really think Girth is trending in the right direction. I think he's a legitimate threat to win the league. A humble guy like that, we don't have to worry about him getting his head getting too big, but he is legit. He's got a legit chance, I think, and he showed that this past week when he pulled out that victory against DJ there. That was the matchup. I think I've always felt like I was looking at Girth's team that he had some depth there, and even when he made that trade, he made the point that I can afford. It was a little more sure of himself but he said I can afford to not have Derrick Henry this week, and look at what Devontae Adams did and made the difference. So
Yeah.
I think that was his part. His no pun intended here, but his coming out party there as far as being legit, as being a legit contender. I mean, he's got a shot. I mean,
Sean, that was one of the best lines I think we've had in this podcast series.
100%. T-shirt line for sure.
T-shirt line for sure. And you know what? And I agree with you too. Like that was a big win for him because DJ was mounting some serious pressure late on Monday night and had, I think, an 11 or 12 point lead at one point on Monday night. Of course, there's two games, which that's always, I'll be honest, I hate that there's two games on Monday night. I think it should be one game.
Yeah.
But there was two games Monday night. DJ had a 12 point lead even heading into the second game, and John still pulled out a fairly comfortable victory himself. Landing at 187 points, even with Derrick Henry in a bye. And that's a scary thought right there for the rest of us. Another game I'm going to shout out is Dolphin Death versus Bad News Baby Mama. So Dolphin Death, massive win there, 205 against 155 for Noel. And Noel's now lost 3 in a row. I think this was equally as important a win as it was for Dolphin Death, equally concerning for Noel. Where his team just consistently, it feels like, is not putting together the results. Jamison Williams even lands a goose egg in that one on Monday night. And Matthew Stafford, Dolphin Death's backup QB, somehow goes off for 40. Just an insane game on all fronts.
for sure.
And then, Chris, any others that stood out to you?
Yeah, the other one, again, to go with the negative theme is our friend Philly Cheesesteaks versus Ricky. Again, Ricky put up a great performance, 173 to 112, but Chuck just really, crapping the bed a little bit. And part of me loves it because it means I was the lowest scorer. But still, I think concerning for Chuck. He is 4-3, so probably only needs a couple wins to secure a playoff spot. But starting to see some stuff slide. And again, it was shocking. I think that was one where we thought could be really close, and again, a pretty high scoring matchup. And then, just a really, really poor performance by his team.
Yeah, no doubt. It'll be interesting to see how Tradegate ends up affecting his team. I don't think it's to blame for the last two results, even, which is concerning. But we'll start to see some of the consequences of that moving forward, I'm sure. Shauner, how about your favorite liberal taking on Maverick in a holy war of sorts?
Well, I was looking at that earlier, that matchup, and that's I really think that's a toss up. I think that's going to be. How can you predict, honestly? How can you predict? How can you look at Phil? Like he just said, Philly cheesesteak. How do you predict? You look at his team and he comes away with 112 points. Like you can't predict that. So I feel like any given week that can happen. Like and it's crazy. This year seems so different than last year. At least I don't. Maybe it's just in my head, but I don't know. I don't see how he can score, that he can come away with a score like that with the team he has. So I looked at that matchup. I mean, it's going to be a good one. It just comes down to that who shows up, which guys, and that's why I don't think you can predict this kind of stuff. I don't. First of all, let me just say, sleeper in their predictions. I don't know who. I don't know how they come up with that. Some of this. I've got, I had a defensive player last week. What's his name? That got traded from Jacksonville to Cleveland. The defensive back. And I don't understand. They're projecting the guy's going to get 0 points. Well, he picked one off, took it in for a touchdown. But he's usually like 7, 8 points. I feel like sleepers' projections are never really accurate. So I just, it's hard to call some of these matchups. Some of them, you kind of see I don't think I'm just going to say it. I don't think I can beat Noel. I really don't. But who knows? Who knows who's good? I mean, I looked at his team. I think he's better than 3. He said had a run of 3 losses. I think his team's better than that. But we'll see. Well, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Another one from this past week for me. And I'm going to shout it out since both of you are sitting here right now. We've talked about it briefly, but Iceman's win against Chris. So this one was going back and forth throughout Sunday afternoon, and I felt like Ice had it pretty comfortably there. And then at some point, I think late Sunday afternoon, like in the 4 o'clock window, it had flipped, and Chris was in a comfortable lead, and then it went back to Ice. And and Ice never relinquished that. I mean, it was a wild one to track throughout Sunday.
The projections at, like you said, I think it was like no one was really scoring points in the 1 o'clock. And the projections in somewhere in the 4 o'clock window, I think we're almost 70-30 with me favored. And then again, Keenan Allen got, I believe, a late touchdown, got him over 20 points. Trey McBride, same thing. And yeah, flipped so hard. I will say this, the thing that pains me the most is all those Devontae Adams touchdowns could have been Puka Nacua touchdowns if he wasn't hurt, and that would have been the difference. Great week. Definitely, when it was 70-30, I felt like I was stealing one. I had no confidence going into this week. I don't know. I guess it doesn't sting as bad but there was a second there where I was like, okay, I could get that third win and notch one.
Yeah. I mean, I at no point did I feel confident with watching Caleb Williams do what Caleb Williams did, and watching DeAndre Swift run the ball the way he did. Taking the ball out of Caleb. So you just don't know. I mean, it's wild to think. Because I thought I was going to lose that matchup, and then I went to bed not knowing, because I just can't do it anymore. I can't stay up till 12, 1 o'clock to watch these games. I used to be able to do it, but when I got to get up at 6, it's rough.
Well, Ice, the next game I'm gonna throw over to you. So this past week, Corbin ended up beating Rory. Give us a little recap of that one.
If Corbin really focused on his whole team, he'd be dangerous. If he focused on defense and just really put as much, I know he likes to stock rookies, he likes to keep guys on his bench and all, but I feel like, Christian McCaffrey is every bit of value he drafted him, and we all had our questions going into this year. Is he going to be? And this Scatterboo stuff, I don't even understand it. The guy just runs with his head down, and Corbin's been telling us all how Rashee Rice is going to do what Rashee Rice does, and he comes back and does it. It's just, Addison just taking over in Minnesota, and that they're not giving the ball to Jefferson. They'll probably do that this week. He just, I don't know. When Drake London has 6.5 points or whatever, and you still score 200 points, that's why I think Corbin's a legit. I think he's his own worst enemy. He's the only guy that could stop himself, because he's got a very balanced team, and I think we're seeing. I think the Rico effect is slowing down a little bit. He was on a tear there for a while. He was putting up some massive numbers. But again, that was a good matchup. He still put up 182 points and lost. That's gonna be a tough week.
Yeah, no doubt. And then Chris, last matchup, my match against Wes.
Pulling it up so I can look here.
It wasn't close, let me tell you that.
Yeah, it wasn't close, and I think going into the week we were thinking not a toilet bowl matchup, but not one of the premier matchups. And definitely feel for Wes. I think he was ready for this league more than I think some others. Not specifically calling you out, Shauner, but
no,
there's a little bit of a dig there.
You could say that. I will not argue that. Last year, I believe I was not prepared for the league last year. 100%. Yeah, he's had some bad breaks.
But Bo Nix putting up, I imagine, a career high fantasy points, 45.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift, same thing. JSN getting CD back, that's got to feel good. And a lot of your pieces were coming together. I think it kind of shows what your team's capable of, James. And then again, Wes, it wasn't a good loss for Wes either. It's not like he put up a ton of points. So, yeah, your team is shocking right now, James. You're not quite in the same boat as Corbin, but definitely there where it's okay, things are starting to come together. And yeah, I think your pan attacks, like you said, can be over now, at least for the next few weeks.
Yeah, and it was tough to remain patient with the team and not panic trade and send out panic offers to everybody to try to turn things around. I trusted my draft process, and I'm not going to say it was great. It's not. I'm 3-4 started out 0-4. I took Travion Henderson in the second round, who in a blowout game versus the Titans still can't get carries, which there's blood on Mike Vrabel's hands for that one. But I definitely have regrets from draft night. But to your point, I think the team is actually showing what it's capable of doing. We've got some health back, and we're starting to finally see the guys that I met in the draft. So moving on from week 7, let's preview week 8 real quick, and we'll kind of blitz through this one, and then get to Iceman's top 3 and bottom 3, and get Iceman to bed before work tomorrow. But so the game of the week this week, it's a no-brainer. It's not even a question. Children of the Corn, 6-1 versus the North Korean Fighting Kims, also at 6-1. It's a South matchup, all South. And I'm gonna shout out the South real quick. Over the last 3 weeks, the South Division has gone 11-1. Swept the Southeast Division, swept the Southwest Division, and then went 3-1 versus the Deep South. And shout out to John for getting a win against Luke and being the only loss that the South Division's taken over the last 3 weeks. That is very impressive, and it's not a run that I think we've seen ever in this league. But anyways, that's the game of the week for me for sure, and I think Ricky comes out on top. Corbin just got too many buys, and as of right now, 3 defensive spots that are empty.
Yeah, that's going to be a barn burner. I'm looking at the Cousin Bowl here, so James versus Luke. Right now Luke has the upper hand, but again, I think one sleeper predictions are never accurate, never even close. And like I said, I think James, your team has a lot of potential. Even looking back to the scores, besides Bo Nix, no one, they had really good weeks, but it wasn't these career high blowing out the water weeks. It's like a sustainable amount of points if the teams are playing well. So I think this could be a pretty close one. Both teams have dynamic players. Drake May has been amazing. Obviously, Saquon can always pull something out. So I think it's going to be a tight matchup, and looking forward to that one.
Yeah, and I will say on that one before we move on, I did just spend this past weekend in Birmingham, and intentionally sabotaging Luke. So he might find some little fun things going on at his home this week that might just distract him from making good decisions on that one. So,
excellent.
Iceman, any games that you're excited about this upcoming week?
I mean, you guys hit on the big ones there. I think I don't buy into sleepers projections. I think some matchups can be a lot closer than what they say. I do think, as was pointed out, your team is surging, James. I think you're gonna come away with a victory there. I think I was just looking at my predictions. I wrote them all down. I think Libby comes away with a win this week. I think somehow Philly cheesesteak finds a way to bounce back from that terrible outing that he had. Interesting matchup there with DJ and Brad. Could again? I don't know. Like these games, like if you look at the projections, they all point like it looks like a blowout, but this year has proven different. So. Yeah, I think there's a couple matchups that are worth watching. We all want to see if Corbin's going to fill those positions and try to win, or if he's just going to leave them empty and just go down with a loss. So, you want to try to predict him? I don't know.
Yeah. It reminds me of we earlier this week we talked about the classic Indianapolis Colts New England Patriots matchups, and I'm just picturing one of those. But Bill Belichick says, but you know what? We're not going to play Tom Brady this game. That's kind of how it feels. Like this game of all games, like this is a division matchup. You're both 6-1. Like this game feels like it has massive implications. I hope he fields a full team. I think it'll be better entertainment value if he does. And Iceman, another thing I'll say, my gut tells me DJ beats Brad. That's one that I'm going with this week. I got a good feeling about him. I think you're right on. I think Chuck is able to beat Wes, but I think it'll be close. And I also agree that John beats Rory. My lock for the week, though, is and Chris, I hate to say this, but it's got to be our dear friend John Alexander Kurth IV. in a matchup against Monday Night Comeback, who is reeling with injuries right now. I just don't see it happening.
Yep. I 100% agree. I probably won't be able to field a full team without dropping substantial assets. So put another one in the L column.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, how do you feel about the Dolphin Death Billy Buck matchup? That's an interesting one.
Yeah, that is. I mean, again, projections are wildly wild on this one. Billy Buck's only projected for about 150, while Dolphin Death has almost 200. Um, the $50 Joe Flacco purchase coming in clutch maybe for Billy Buck here. But Josh Allen plays a pretty soft team this week, so I expect a lot of points from him, and I think LA gets the win there. But again, anything can happen. I mean, Joe Flacco kind of tore it up. He figured out that he has a pretty good receiver on his team in Jamar Chase, and we could see. So I think that's gonna be a pretty good quarterback battle there. As odd as it seems, as our ancient Joe Flacco will be the.
I see you have one in that one.
I don't know. I don't know how to score these anymore. I really don't. I'm looking at what I got written down here. I think that we're going to see a couple of things happen. I still think the guys, the top teams, which I'll go over that I have, the top three are gonna keep winning. I just don't. I mean, they're unless they play each other, then you got that. We're gonna see what happens there. But yeah, Kurth is he's just surging right now. He's one to watch, and Dolphins team has been. He's got to be pretty happy with his performance as well. So we'll see how it all shakes out on Sunday and Monday.
Yeah. And then the last game. Oh, Chris, go ahead.
I was just gonna say one call out on we already kind of talked about the DJ Brad is Brad was able to pick up, or maybe he already had Marcus Mariota, so Jaden Daniels is out. Mariota's playing. He's playing Monday night against the Chiefs, who they have some quarterback. I think his name's like Mahomey or something. Not a real high scorer, but they're playing each other. So if that game is close going into Monday night, you're gonna have two quarterbacks kind of dueling. It could be very interesting to watch.
I will say it feels like a miss on DJ's part to let Brad add Mariota there, because that's one of those decisions that if he doesn't get Mariota, that transforms the entire game. Yep. And it's either him or Spencer Rattler. No disrespect to Spencer Rattler, but I think Mariota and that offense is a much better play.
Yeah.
And could change the game. Last game to cover real quick is Iceman versus Noel. Noel's lost 3 in a row. Iceman is in good form right now. That's a division that really, I mean, who knows how that's going to end up. I mean, Brad is obviously a great team. I think he does win the division this year and qualifies for the playoffs for the first time in his history in this league. DJ is in second place right now at 4-3. And then we've got Iceman at 3-4 and Noel at 2-5. If Iceman is able to beat Noel and create a 3-game cushion there, or excuse me, a 2-game cushion there, I think that could be a really, really big advantage for him. And seeing Noel at 2-6, that's going to be hard to overcome. I mean, realistically, you've got one more loss before playoffs are out of the question. And I can't believe Noel's in this position, but here we are. So I think that one leans Noel, but I think it'll be a lot closer than Sleeper is saying it will be.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the case. I've got, like I said, if I don't make a move, which I've had some offers out there that I've set out pretty big. It's going to be a tough one to win. I don't see without having McBride and Travis Etienne, it's going to be tough. And everybody has as you called it, James, by Mageddon. It's a tough week, if you've got players on bye. But anything can happen. I think I'm going to work hard over the next 24 hours to get something, less than that, to get something done. I don't, maybe if the players aren't involved in tomorrow's game, but because I really do want to win this week. I know I got West the following week, so I don't want to lose this game. I've got to find a way to win.
Yeah. Well, and I can tell you, I know for a fact there's a lot of teams out there that are looking to make moves right now. So hopefully you find the right trade partner that makes sense and you're able to move forward from there.
Well, it's like CNN, MSN, all those networks. They all seem to have the same talking points and want the same players. But yeah, that's the case. And they tend to want them when they're down or when they're not performing. But don't we all? So we'll see
Yeah.
what
Right.
happens over the next 2024. Who knows if something gets done?
Well, awesome. Well, Ice, we want to be respectful of your time, and let's go ahead and jump into your bottom three teams, and we'll go to your top three.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, if I don't get my act together, like I might have to put myself down there. Just based on, I don't know. I think I'm gonna figure it out, but I've got I've got Wes in there. I've got Crawl Baby in there, and possibly my friend Chris over there if things don't turn in his direction. But I could say again, I put myself in there too, so I've kind of got four in there. Because I had to throw myself in. I'm not as humble as Girth, but reality is what reality is, and
Yeah.
The opposite of
you know,
Luke Brooks.
yeah,
Who
yeah,
put himself in the top three? That's right.
fantasy pro.
Who of those ones that you just mentioned, Ice? Who is the 16th team?
Boy, this is how you make enemies. If I gotta pick someone that will never trade with me. I think Wes is going to have a tough go after things have not gone his way in that trade. I don't think is going to go his way. I could be wrong. Can be a stud on any given Sunday, but I think I would have held on to Derrick Henry there because I think once Lee Bar gets back and they start pounding the football again, it's going to go. That's how it's going to go. So again, how can you even predict this kind of stuff? We've seen it like again with I still can't believe if I'd have scored 112, Chuck would be riding me left. He'd be sending me messages. It would never. I'd never hear the end of it. I wouldn't.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Uh,
well, what I hate is that he was 1 point away from being 100 clubbed. Oh, I hate
yeah.
that didn't happen. Um,
Oh man,
Ice, let's start with the third position. Give us your top three.
you want me to give them to you in the order in which I think they'll finish, or just the top three? Because it's a
Let's do
little
the
hard to.
order in which you think they'll finish. Yeah, let's do that. Starting
So
with number three and working your way up.
I'll tell you. Let me tell you. Let me do it this way. I've got Corbin, I've got Little Ricky, and I've got Girth. I just don't know. Corbin's going to come down to managing his team, and I don't have enough confidence that he's going to do that properly. Just because you got to fill every position, and you got to. So I mean, I can't get past. I can't get over Ricky. I know. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. I wasn't as tuned in as everyone, but I think he was really second guessing where he took uh, Jonathan Taylor initially, because I think he take him fourth? Wasn't that fourth
Yeah,
overall?
Fourth
yeah,
overall.
And then he sort of talked himself into it. But you like who would have thought? You'd have said to me, you could have Jonathan Taylor or Saquon Barkley. Who do you want? And you look at the way it's played out for Jonathan Taylor. Quinshawn Junkins is coming on. I love Baker Mayfield, not just as a fantasy quarterback, just as a person in general. I
yeah.
mean, he's got
He's
Ladd.
a winner.
He's got a stacked team. So I think it's gonna be Ricky, Kurth, and then Corbin. I just Corbin. If Corbin would manage his team correctly, who am I to tell him? He drafted much better. His draft turned out a lot better than mine. But just from the little time I've known Corbin, I think that's my prediction anyway. I would put them in
Okay,
that order. So
okay.
yeah,
So Ricky at the top.
Ricky, then Kurth, then Corbin, and there's some other guys that could get in there. That's just from what I'm seeing right now, and just looking
Yeah,
down the road.
yeah. No, that is fantastic. Well, Ice, thank you so much for being on tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here. We're so stoked to be able to have you, and obviously, hopefully, this will help everyone get to hear from you a little bit. Not in the chat room since we missed you on draft night. Are there any final words that you want to share with the league?
Whew. No, I think we've covered it all. to the league. I'm looking to trade. So, if you're not using Fantasy Pro, send me an offer, and I'll look it over and I'll consider it and I'll evaluate it myself without the help of the pros. I jokingly refer to them as fantasy hoes, but that's
There you go.
that's just my humor. I've seen those guys. I just for kicks and giggles on YouTube and stuff. So no, it was a pleasure. It was good to be on here. It's good to talk to you guys because I haven't seen you in well over a year, and I hope to be back next year and be able to make the trip because I'm sure I missed out on a good time there at the beach house.
Well, Iceman, we will look forward to it, and we also hope that you get to be able to join us next year. We'd love to have you for sure. We're excited for what next season will bring, and excited for what the rest of this season will bring.
Yeah, but it's unfortunate that our liberal friend couldn't be on tonight, but
I think he's dodging you. I think he was a little scared, honestly.
Yeah, I think he's ducking this one.
Yeah, could be pulling a Kamala. We'll see. I'm sure I'll be hearing from him though, because like I said, he likes to talk trade. So
all right, fellas.
Thanks
well, hey,
again,
awesome.
Yep. I hope you both have a great night, and to the rest of the league, we will see you this time next week.
All right then.
Adios.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Take care.